in what could possibly be a first-round matchup in the NBA playoffs, the Bucks took down the Nets last night 120-119. Giannis had his second consecutive 40-point game, and a clutch three to take the game to OT made him Milwaukee's all-time scoring leader, while KD led all Nets with 26, 11, and 7. So the matchup previewed a potential first-round meeting with the Bucks sitting a half game back of first in the Eastern Conference, while the Nets are in 8th. According to Caesars, the two teams are currently co-favorites to win the East. So that leads us into this question. Chiney Ogwumike back with us at the desk. And Chiney, I'll ask you first. Out of these two teams, who is the bigger threat in the postseason?
The biggest threat in the postseason right now is emerging to be the Milwaukee Bucks. And it's because they just know who they are. They're playing a great brand of basketball. And I know a lot of people are wondering, like, what do you mean by Giannis not necessarily being the best player? And best player, meaning when we talk about best player, we tend to say you have to have everything in your bag, right? You have to be able to knock down the three, hit the mid-range, have, a finish game at the rim. He may not necessarily be the most complete, but he is getting there. He is the most dominant player in the NBA right now, based on how he plays and how he performs. Obviously, he's one of the best players in the NBA, but he's emerging to be, he's right now the most dominant. He's emerging to be one of the best. And what I'll say about the Milwaukee Bucks overall, I mean, they're just solid on both ends of the floor defensively. They know exactly who they are, where to go, how to funnel, their defenders on the perimeter to the shot blockers. Offensively, they just know who they are as well. I mean, Giannis, he's read the game so well. He pushes on the break. He's able to distribute when he needs to. Drew Holiday, he's great at running the point as well. So, I look at this team overall, the Milwaukee Bucks, they have all the answers. They have an identity. They're playing a great brand of basketball. They're getting their stars to show out when they need it most. Before even Giannis was taking over the last two games versus Philly and now the Nets, you saw Drew Holiday emerge the last few months or so. And he's won them games. He's finished at the rim. He's got the ball to the right shooters. Chris Middleton is playing better basketball. You look at the Bucks from top to bottom. They're a deep team. They're well coached. They play on both ends. They have the most dominant player in Giannis Antetokounmpo, who can give you 40 on any night. He can get you rebounds and he can get you blocks. Who's a former Defensive Player of the Year. They are going. I mean, they look like they're poised to repeat right now because they seem complete in ways that teams in the East are not.
I mean, the biggest thing to me is if you would have watched this team the entire season, like we all did, knowing that Brook Lopez, if he was healthy the whole season, what would those odds look like? This team may be far and ahead. It's log jammed up at the top. Bucks would probably be in firm control of this thing had they had their rotation guy that provides that versatility and a spacer is a big who can knock down the three, which allows those driving lanes for Giannis, who's already unstoppable. If they consistently had that, it'd be different. Now, look, this Bucks team has taken a step back defensively just a tick. But something tells me by the time they get to the postseason, they'll know exactly who they are for all the reasons you use, Chiney. I love this Bucks squad. I love the evolution of Giannis. Shea had the questions in the other hour about his ability to knock down free throws. He's shown that.
Yeah.
What was that, 15 for 19 last night?
Yeah.
15 for...
I didn't say he can't do it. I said he's evolved. Now he can.
True. I didn't mean to throw you that straight. I apologize. That's supposed to be my life partner right there. Partner in position to fail. My bad. But to me, it's the idea that there is... We joke about the dad jokes that Giannis uses and stuff like that. That seems trivial. Maybe it is. But having been in locker rooms like we all have, it's important because it's galvanizing of a group. You feel like your leader is one of you, and that's the beauty of this squad. When you think of big threes or big twos, they're huge personalities. They're egos, and you wonder, can they work together? Can Harden and Embiid do it? Can Simmons fit in with KD and Kyrie? Is there a question that Chris Middleton and Giannis work together? Is there a question that Drew Holiday fits in there? Is there a question that these guys don't have what it takes because they've done it before? Everything that you typically ask of a championship team, the Bucks have provided. Yeah. They've got stars. They're going to lock in and defend. The culture is built in. The coach is in tow with the players. Where is the fracture that makes you question this team, which leads me to believe they're just not sexy enough to everybody? It's in Milwaukee. They're not the big personalities. Giannis tells the dad jokes, but what else is there? To me, people get bored with great, and we're watching greatness. We're watching the best player in the world. People can come at me on Twitter if they want. We're also watching the second best team in the NBA because I think the Suns are the best.
Yeah, well, the Suns are similar to the Bucks in the fact that they're quote-unquote boring. Like CP3 and D-Book, they have a similar relationship. It feels like Chris Middleton and Giannis Antetokounmpo because they just like each other and they seem to get along in every facet. Now, I actually think that's also true with the Nets, and that's why I think the Nets are the biggest postseason threat at this point. Look, yesterday, if Durant's three goes in, we're having kind of a different conversation here because it feels like the question is then as the Nets finally figured it out, and albeit they're an 8 seed when we wake up this morning, These are two guys in Durant and Kyrie who have now learned to play with each other. And there's not the same question marks. What don't they have on this Nets team? Let me answer that for you. The answer is defense. Correct.
Right.
However,
Especially transition defense, because it's brutal to watch.
So the answer is defense. But if they can just find a way to hold teams down in one quarter of a game, they have enough offensive firepower to get over the hump and to take down the good teams 1 through 7 in terms of seeding right now in the East, in my opinion. If you look at some of the teams that they have played as of late in terms of what the Nets have done in some of those other quarters, like they were able to do it in the first and fourth quarter last night, and then they were able to do it on March 26th at Miami. They held the Heat under 23 points in 2 quarters. Like they've done it against really good teams. It's just that defense is obviously the biggest question mark. And say what you want about Kyrie, because maybe some people feel some kind of way about Kyrie, but whenever he is on the floor for any team, whether it's the Nets, whether it's in Cleveland, whether it's in Boston, he makes them better. What did he do with LeBron?
Struggled down the stretch last night.
I think it's arguable for the Boston, right? Because you see now Boston emerging with their own identity. I think Kyrie and KD, the biggest factor is what you mentioned. It's the fact that they're family. I mean, there was a point in the game where I was watching yesterday, and in between a free throw, what happens on free throws? You go and give a high five. Yeah. They did their full-on handshake.
I saw that. It's so funny because I'm thinking that's a big third free throw that he had to make when they did that.
Yeah, they did their full-on. I was like, oh, they're on a whole different level. They speak a different language, and it's almost like us against the world. There are two guys that have won championships. They know what it's like to be quote-unquote hated. They feel like they use that as fuel. But still, at the end of the day, the teams that win championships are teams and not necessarily just good duos. The NBA is not set up where you can have one star player ask LeBron James who's leading the league in scoring, actually tied with Giannis. Your team is still, now in the play-in? You have to have an entire squad. The Bucks have a squad. The Nets have star players. It'll be questionable to see whether those star players can keep it together and play defense while the Bucks know exactly who they are.
And it could have changed if we had Ben Simmons when the deal got done, which a lot of us assumed was going to happen.
Yeah.
We felt like, okay, James is going to go be a Sixer. We're going to get Ben Simmons. We're watching this team in transition. It's going to be unbelievable.
But
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.